So let's get started. Then, distinguished guests, distinguished HoloBase users, and all the friends, I'm happy to welcome your participation in HoloBase online event. I'm Linda from HoloBase team. Welcome. This online event is co-hosted by HoloBase and Malaysia Digital Economy Corporation. MDEC is an agency under the Ministry of Communications and Multimedia Malaysia with a close to 25-year track record with successfully leading the ICT and digital economy growth in Malaysia. In the context of normalized COVID-19 prevention and control, digital technology will build a new industrial ecology and form a stronger innovation vitality. And the digital economy will lead a new round of economic cycles and become a new engine for economic development. And today, we will mainly talk about how would tech startups seek new opportunities in Malaysia's digital economy development. So first, allow me to briefly explain the meeting agenda. For the next hour, Mr. Siva, the head of investment at the Malaysia Digital Economy Corporation, and Mr. Lee, the managing partner of Kairous Capital, will give us a presentation respectively. And then there will be a roundtable discussion. We will invite panelists from MDEC, Kairous Capital, and two Malaysian technology companies, SushiVid and SkinRun, to join the conversation. At last, there will be a Q&A session. If you have any questions, please push the heads up button or you can type in the chat room. Thank you. So I know that there are some new participants on this webinar, so please allow me to briefly introduce our platform, HoloBase. HoloBase was founded in 2018 as a lab product of Geekpark, a leading tech media in China. We would like to bridge the gap between China and the rest of the world, especially those emerging markets, which need resources of technology, human investment, and management. We approach this goal by offering daily news, industry trends, financing information, analytics reports, and yellow pages of Chinese tech companies. And we will organize regular online discussion among HoloBase members. So for anyone who hasn't signed up for HoloBase, you can go to our website or download HoloBase app in the App Store. And if you haven't joined our HoloBase community on WhatsApp, there is a link for you in the chat room. You're also welcome to invite your friends to join us. Okay, so let's get started then. With the IMF forecasting a 6.1% fall in advanced economy GDP in 2020, and the world trade is expected to contract by 11%, there is intense focus on the question of how would tech startups seek new opportunities. Looking at Southeast Asia, Malaysia is working to create an enabling business environment for technology startups. In 2008, the Malaysian government officially launched the National High-Speed Broadband Project as part of the National Broadband Economic Transformation Initiative. And thanks to the investment and focus on ICT infrastructure, Malaysia's GDP grew by 64% by 2014, making it one of the fast-growing countries since the financial crisis and creating 100,000 jobs. So how are tech startups seeking new opportunities in Malaysia? What is the status of digital economy development in Malaysia? How can Malaysian capital support cross-border entrepreneurship? And towards the future, where is Malaysia's digital economy heading? So today, thanks to the support from Malaysia Digital Economy Corporation, HoloBase is honored to invite Mr. Siva, Head of Investment and Development at MDEC, Mr. Joseph Lee, the Managing Partner of Kairous Capital Limited, Ms. Feng Yuwen, the founder and CEO of SushiVid, and Mr. Sheldon Tang, the Overseas Business Development Director of SkinRun, to share with us. So first, let's warmly welcome our first distinguished speaker, Mr. Siva. Mr. Siva holds the position of Head of Investment at the Malaysia Digital Economy Corporation. He has strong experience in business development, strategy, and planning, which spans over 20 years. He has been with MDEC since 2008, and his previous roles encompasses developing new markets for Malaysian technology companies in Asia Pacific. In addition to that, he facilitated in developing new strategy to grow the digital ecosystem in Malaysia. He has experience in dealing with various industry verticals from financial services to logistics, healthcare, telecom, manufacturing, retail, and the public sector with regards to developing local tech companies and also attracting new global digital investments into Malaysia. I will stop sharing first and please allow me. So you can start now, sir. And I unmute you already. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, Linda. Good evening to everyone. I'm Siva from Malaysia Digital Economy Corporation, or better known as MDEC. I'm with the investment team. So what our investment team does is that we facilitate global companies, whether large companies or scale-ups or startups, to set up their presence in Malaysia and grow from Malaysia. That's our role. And first of all, let me just briefly introduce about MDEC, what we do. MDEC is a Malaysian government agency under the Ministry of Communication and Multimedia. And our role is basically to develop the digital economy in Malaysia. So we look into all aspects from talent, infrastructure, growth of local companies, attracting strategic companies to Malaysia to assist with the digital agenda. And let me go to the second slide. Okay, so we were briefly shared the participant list, and we found out that 70% of the participants of this webinar are from outside Malaysia. So let me just start with some stats on ASEAN and Malaysia before we go through the details on Malaysia further. So Malaysia, as you all could see, it's right in the smack in the center of ASEAN, heart of ASEAN. 4 hours drive from Kuala Lumpur, the capital. Down south is Singapore, and 4 hours drive down up north is Thailand border. So that's where Malaysia is. And as you all know, ASEAN, the 10 countries of ASEAN, it's one of those fastest growing region in the world pre-COVID, almost 5 to 6%. And post-COVID is also expected to one of those regions which still will have a positive growth. Okay, so ASEAN is definitely one of those regions which you could bet on. And in terms of the digital economy itself, it's predicted that the value or worth of digital economy or internet economy in ASEAN by 2025 is going to be USD 300 billion. Okay, ASEAN as of now, there is 10 unicorns in ASEAN, and it's expected to double up to another 10 by 2025. And in terms of Malaysia, Malaysia is one of the leading digital hubs in ASEAN. Okay, we have almost 3,000 digital companies registered with MDEC, and another few hundreds outside of our zone, but they are still in Malaysia. Okay, out of these companies, all these companies, they have invested about 86 billion USD investment into Malaysia and have hired almost 180,000 people. So, and doing all kind of digital activities out of Malaysia. And in total, there's almost 1 million people involved in the digital economy in Malaysia. Okay, out of all these companies, you can see all the global brands out there. We have about 600 global MNCs which have set up their delivery centers in Malaysia. And then the rest are startups, scale-ups from all parts of the world. Okay. And one of the things that we also look at, apart from the global companies, we also have developed a lot of regional champions out of Malaysian local companies like Aerodyne, Green Packet, Finexus. These are some of the local champions who have gone regional. So we have the right infrastructure for global companies and also large scale-ups and startups for all these companies to grow in Malaysia. Okay. And one thing to be proud of is that one of the largest unicorns in ASEAN, which is Grab, actually started from Malaysia, and we hope to create the next unicorn soon. Okay. Further to that, this slide also explains more about some of the types of companies that we have in Malaysia. So firstly, I want to touch a bit on the one global company called Shell. They have one of their global delivery center. One of their 5 global centers around the world is based out of Malaysia. They have hired almost 1,800 people here doing all kind of digital activities out of Malaysia. So why did Shell chose Malaysia? See, a lot of these global companies, whether it's startups or global companies, they would want to, what do you call that, look into regional support. Malaysia, with a multilingual, multicultural population, is able to support regional locations. That's number one. Number two, they look into matured location with digital ecosystem and all those. That's another reason why Shell chose Malaysia. And thirdly, of course, the government has a lot of support in terms of incentives, in terms of hiring foreign knowledge workers and all those stuff. So those are some of the reasons why Shell and other global companies have chosen Malaysia. Apart from global companies, as I said earlier, we also have a lot of scale-ups and startups here. I have two companies here to share. One is iPay88. iPay88 started as a Malaysian company. They became the largest, one of the largest payment gateway company in Southeast Asia. And then eventually in 2015, the Malaysian operation has been acquired by NTT of Japan. And the other recent company is SoftSpace. They are basically into fintech and or creating mobile POS, and they too grow very fast out of Malaysia. And then they got investments from Transcosmos and Sumitomo from Japan. And they are also providing solutions for Tokyo Olympic with one of their strategic partners. So what I'm trying to say here is that Malaysia, we assist companies, or one of the good locations for companies to grow, because there's a lot of unique things. One is it's a country as large as Germany, where we have the urban location and also the rural locations. So the companies are able to test different kind of demographic. Then with the multilingual population, then with the infrastructure in place. So these are some of the reasons why they test out in Malaysia and then eventually grow outside Malaysia. Like another company that I could share here is Soka from SK Mobility or SK Group. Outside Korea, they started their car sharing platform out of Malaysia first, and eventually going outside of ASEAN, outside of Malaysia towards ASEAN. Okay. And then the three major things that the Malaysian government looks at and prioritize for the digital economy is, number one, we are looking towards the digitalization of industries in Malaysia. Okay, this is one of the main things. Number two, we are looking into talent development in Malaysia. Number three, we are looking into the development of innovation and also the digital ecosystem in Malaysia. And lastly, infrastructure. So if you look into this slide, it basically explains some of the digital adoption programs that we have been running last 1 year. One of the main reasons are these. We have done a study with McKinsey about a year ago, where we looked into all the industries in Malaysia, and we found out that industries like business services, FSI, and also oil and gas, they are at the higher level of digitalization. Okay, industries like manufacturing, which contributes 22% of the GDP, industries like retail, 15% of the GDP, is at the lower mid-tier of digitalization. And all the other industries like tourism, healthcare, agriculture, and education is the lowest level of digitalization. So the country's priority now is that how can we digitalize all these industries, because that will, that will increase our GDP, okay, or contribution back to the GDP. And so the government has allocated a lot of grants and incentives for companies who are looking for digitalization, whether it's the large companies, large local companies, they can apply for a digital transformation program. All they need to do is to work with a local, a technology company or technology provider, either local or from overseas. Or we have a lot of grants for SMEs or micro SMEs. So for SMEs, they can apply for business digitalization grant or smart automation grant. And then for micro SMEs, we have 100 Go Digital. How can we take, say, a tourism mom and pop shop go digital? So the government has matching grants for all these companies. And because of all this digital initiative and agenda that we have, we need technology providers, not only from Malaysia, but from around the world. That's where the opportunity comes for global companies. If you have good solutions for targeting for SMEs, targeting for large companies for different industries, check out our website. We have the link for you to register for the Digital versus COVID, one of our program, to basically register your solutions in our website so that SMEs can start working with your, SMEs in Malaysia who are in all kind of industries can go digital through your platforms. Okay. The second main thing is, of course, talent. Talent is one of the major things that the Malaysian government is looking at. Every year during the budget, few billions are being allocated for talent development in Malaysia. So these are a couple of talent programs. We have the Digital Talent Development Program. This is more catered towards the polytechnic university students, trying to get them their syllabus aligned to the current industry's expectation, trying to have finishing schools for all those degree students who graduates and still looking for a job. Okay, and then we have Digital Entrepreneurship Program. This is targeted more towards the entrepreneurs out there. How can we get more youths to get into entrepreneurship? What kind of programs do we need to give them for them to become an entrepreneur? We have digital adoption. This is more targeted towards the B40 group in Malaysia, or the rural folks, towards getting them to or training them to sell their solutions or products, whether it's agriculture or any handicraft online. We have a Digital Creative Content Program. This is basically to develop more talent in the areas of visual effects, games, and also animation. And lastly, we have programs on the big data and IoT and for IR and stuff. So some of the programs around this is we are training more Malaysians, especially those people in the upskilling the current workforce in terms of cloud technology, IoT, big data, cybersecurity, and also fintech technology. Okay. In terms of the talent ecosystem, these are the three major things that MDEC looks at. Number one, we look into the future talent development, whether it's starting from the school level. How can we get more students to look into coding? How can we get them to choose IT or computer science when they go to their university level? That's number one. Number two is that we are trying to get all our universities to be aligned with the industry requirements. So there's at the moment, there's 1.2 million students who are studying IT-related courses. Number two, the government also put a lot of emphasis into existing talent. There could be people who are a finance expert or logistic expert. How can we get them to also be digital, have digital skills? So we have a couple of programs on cybersecurity, on data analytics, AI, and stuff. So here I could share that we ran a big data analytics program where we got almost 14,000 Malaysians so far to be trained on big data to become data professionals. We have trained about 8,000 cybersecurity professionals from all these upskilling programs. And lastly, for global companies, we also understand that global companies need global talent. So MDEC is the agency which looks at how can we make it easy or facilitate of your hiring talent from overseas. Because sometimes in a lot of countries, work permit becomes a huge issue, but we realize that foreign work talents is still required for a company to go global. So we do facilitate on that, okay? And then the third charter is, of course, the innovation bit. We look into, as a country, there's a lot of challenges in terms of how can we create more startups to look into all kinds of challenges, whether it's the food security, whether it's the transportation, the rural folks adopting to the latest financial technologies and stuff. So a couple of programs that we have here. Number one is the National Technology Innovation Sandbox, or NTIS. Okay, here basically the government has allocated almost 100 million ringgit, or almost 25 million USD, to look into all kind of scale-ups and startups who could help the government to look into all these kind of issues and solve those issues using technology. Okay. And so far, we have opened it up for last 3 months. About 1,200 applications have companies have applied for this NTIS. Okay, and we do encourage more local and also foreign companies to apply for that. Secondly, we have a lot of other test beds, like example 5G. the government is looking at testing 5G in 5 states all over Malaysia. So that we require or we need a lot of technology companies to participate in that. Thirdly, we have the autonomous vehicle test beds. This is based out of Cyberjaya. Then we have the Terragraph with Facebook, where we are piloting that in Penang. Blockchain ecosystem is being developed in Johor, where we are bringing in all the talent from blockchain. We are bringing in blockchain companies, connecting them with the universities and also the industries to create the ecosystem out of Johor and also do a lot of test bedding there. And lastly, we are also working with the Central Bank of Malaysia in terms of fintech sandbox. So if there's any fintech companies who are looking into participating in any of our sandbox, let us know also. And of course, for all this to happen, we need good infrastructure. The government is continuously investing in infrastructure, whether it's the new technology like 5G, as I said, we are going to test it out in 5 states out of Malaysia. We are also looking into, looking into how can we bring fiber to more rural locations out of Malaysia, in Malaysia. Basically the Borneo part of Malaysia. That's also a priority for the government. And thirdly, we are also looking into how can we have more subsea or landing points of submarine cables to Malaysia. Okay, so infrastructure is very key, because if you see the current COVID situation, what happened is that a lot of, in some countries, regional countries, with the sudden lockdown of the country, a lot of companies' operations were disrupted, okay, because the workers they are not able to go to the office, but they also not able to work from home because of the infrastructure was bad in the countries. So in Malaysia, one of the advantages we had, and a lot of companies have recognized and also informed us, is that because of the maturity of the infrastructure, the good infrastructure, they were able to still continue with their daily support for their organization, whether it's a delivery center or tech startup and all those stuff from their home. Okay, so infrastructure is key, and the government is continuously investing on that. So this is my final slide. Basically, what do you call that? We welcome global companies, whether if you are a scale up or a startup or a large company, if you are looking for a location to try out or test bed your solution, or you're looking for a location to grow in a new market like ASEAN and all those, or you are looking for a joint venture partner with the 2,000 plus local Malaysian technology companies, let us know. We are able to connect you with these companies or connect you with the right parties for you to set up in Malaysia. Okay, some of the things that why companies chose Malaysia, it's basically number one, Malaysia is almost at the center of ASEAN or heart of ASEAN. You can get multilingual talents out of Malaysia. Malaysians who speak very well regional languages, whether it's Tagalog or Philippines or Bahasa Indonesia. Malay and Bahasa Indonesia is almost similar. We have quite a significant people in northern Malaysia who speak Thai languages, and also a lot of other languages. So Malaysia, you could test out your solutions or start your operations out of Malaysia. That's number one. Number two, we have very good infrastructure, okay, for you to test out your solution, as well as look into the rural and urban population. Because if you are targeting ASEAN, you must keep in mind that almost 70% of the population in Greater ASEAN is in the rural side. So Malaysia is a good test bed for that. And then third thing, there's a matured IT ecosystem here, whether it's the accelerators, the co-working spaces, good broadband, cost of doing business, and all those are very much competitive. So that's another point. And lastly, the government support is always there. If you are doing certain digital activities out of Malaysia, we will support you all in terms of hiring of foreign talent, and also maybe tax incentives or grants and all those. We could explore all those. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for sharing. So I'm gonna start. So thanks for Mr. Siva's speech. If you have any questions or comments now, you can type in the chat room. HoloBase assistant will collect your questions and we'll discuss more in the Q&A session. So our second guest speaker is Mr. Lee from Kairous Capital. Mr. Joseph Lee has over 15 years of experience and expertise in cross-border private equity and venture capital investment throughout the Asia region. In his career, he has successfully invested in more than 20 companies in mainland China, Singapore, Malaysia, Hong Kong, Philippines, etc. In 2015, he set up Kairous Capital with a vision to become the region's leading PE/VC firm in cross-border investment. Kairous Capital has invested in 10 portfolio companies covering Greater China and ASEAN region. Mr. Lee's cross-border experience further expanded into the technology sector, mainly fintech, insurtech, e-commerce, travel tech, edutech, and digital healthcare. These companies were successfully secured further funding from internet giants such as Tencent, Lenovo, and Alibaba. I will stop sharing first and I will unmute. Sorry, I have to unmute you first. Right. Sorry.
Thanks, Linda, for the introductions. Good evening, everyone. My name is Joseph Lee. I'm the managing partners of Kairous Capital. I would like to thank MDEC and HoloBase for giving me this opportunity to share my experience. For today's topics is how can Malaysian capital support cross-border entrepreneurships. Before I go into it, maybe let me give a brief introduction about Kairous. Kairous was founded in 2015. We position ourselves as the cross-border venture capital firm. In case you would like to ask what is the meaning of Kairous, it is in Greek. It is actually means window of opportunities. So we are very much regulated by the Hong Kong authorities, the SFCs, as the asset managers, and we are also registered with Security Commissions of Malaysia. We invest in the two regions, I think in China as well in Southeast Asia, in the fintech space, in the digital healthcare, insurtech, and e-commerce space. So our strategy is very much to help the Chinese company venture out from their home turf to Southeast Asia. That's one. The other one is also helping investing in the Southeast Asia company and helping them to actually venture out from their own country. So we have 3 offices in Shanghai, in Hong Kong, and as well as Malaysia, 10 investment professionals with collectively 25 years of experience and 1 investment committee members. Yeah. So I will spend a little bit time in this slide. For investors, we are actually a hybrid between VC and the PE because the partners, we have collectively more than 15 years of private equity experience. So when you mean private equities, we actually do quite a fair bit of heavy liftings. We are active investors. We tend to concentrate on post-investment monitoring value creation part. So that's one. And the other part is having exposed right along with us, you actually have a regional exposure into our tech. So you have exposure in China as well as South Asia. And because of this exposure, you can actually arbitrage the technology difference between China and South Asia. For our Chinese investees, we are actually their cross-border partners. So we tend to look at companies that have products and services that can be replicated outside China, and we are their local partners to actually help them to venture out of China. And for the South Asia investees, we actually sort of transfer the know-how that we learn from China, and so that it can expedite their growth. The other point that is actually our advantages is actually regional exit channel. So what happened is because as the VC that base HQ in Malaysia, we actually have networked with the Western VC, and at the same time where we were heavily involved in China, so we also have networked with the Chinese VC. So our investees, when going through their Series B, Series C, and Series D, we get to link them up with different regional VCs. So over the years, we have looked at 600 companies and done more than 20 detailed due diligence, invested in 10 portfolio companies. Currently, 60% of our portfolio companies actually based in China, and the other 40% is in South Asia. 30% in the 6th stage, and 70% largely Series A to Series B. So if you look at the right-hand side, we actually look at quite a fair bit of deals in the region, but still majority Malaysia and China in the mobile application space, in the SaaS space, and the platform space. So this is just a very glance of our portfolio. The top one is actually investees from China. We have insurtech companies, fintech companies, digital healthcare companies, and the bottom 4 are Malaysian investees, as well as some investment that we make in Singapore and Vietnam. So what do we look for? So this slide, I will follow the counterclockwise. So we look at companies that have opportunity to venture into a large addressable markets. So in terms of market opportunities, and in terms of technologies, also we look at companies that using technology to create a large barrier of entry. And we also look for companies that actually have strategic fit to our existing portfolio, whether it's upstream or whether it's downstream. And potential growth is, we also look at businesses and companies that have that is scalable, that they can actually scale very quickly. And the obviously management team is also very extremely important, and we've also a very clear-cut exit strategy. So we invest with the end in mind, and whether we can actually trade sales to a global giant, or we can do an IPO in the region. So our cross-border strategy actually comprises of several strategies. Okay, so I think the first one is being business expansions. So we have actually helped quite a fair bit of Chinese investees expanding outside China. So this is very straightforward. You know, if they are in the fintech space, they need to connect with the local bank. They need to connect with the local strategic partners. We will link them up in the region. Okay, but I think we hope to do beyond that. And currently in our existing portfolio, we actually do help our investees, apart from the business expansions, we also help them to do M&A, okay, and several M&A that is done by our Chinese investees are actually facilitated by us. And also at the same time, when some of our investees actually have moved to Series B, Series C, they are fairly sizable already, they are sitting with cash, we might do co-investment together with them, whether that co-investment is definitely strategic to them, whether it is their upstream or whether it is their downstream. On top of that, we also help one of our investees in Malaysia to actually have certain talent acquisition in China. For example, I think we all know that certain areas in certain segment, for example, fintech, in China, they are actually fairly advanced already. The tech talent there is actually have a different skill set. They are used to look at a very sizable market. So, and during the process of investment in the Malaysian investees, we find that there are certain skill set that is lacking that you might not be able to easily find in Malaysia. So what happened is we actually bridged the gap by bringing them to China and getting them to hire some of the good talents there. And transfer of know-how, for example, I think one of the parking companies that we invested in, there is already a unicorn in China that's almost doing the same thing. So we actually introduced some of the workable business model to them, and also we also link that to some of the hardware supplier in China so that they can substantially reduce their hardware cost by 30%. So, next one, I will move into a little bit to the Malaysian reliant on the digital economy. So if you look at this slide, the internet penetration in Malaysia is fairly high, 79%, and the mobile penetration is actually over 100%. So in terms of the internet and mobile penetration, I think Malaysia is actually ready for the digital economy. If you look at the virtual wallets perspective, from this chart actually show that from 2015 to 2019, the e-wallet adoption has been on the upward rise, and this is excluding the impact that we are facing in 2020, where COVID time, I think the adoption is even higher. So from our experience in China, if we look at the last 5 years, after the mass adoptions of the e-payment, a lot of internet-based company, web-based company, their business actually grow exponentially. So for a economy to embrace digital, I think some of the basic infrastructures needs to be there. To me, if you talk about e-commerce, you need two key fulfillment, which is payment and logistic. But if you exclude, if you outside e-commerce, which if you're selling services, what you need to do is a very convenient payment method to facilitate the transactions. So I think for Malaysia, it is heading to the right trend. It is heading to the right way to fully embrace digital. In terms of the government support, we do have the grant from the Penjana side, the loan for corporates, for SME to embrace technology. So this is one level of support, but after all, it's grant and loan, so they might not be able to take up very high risk ventures. The government at the same time also have this matching fund that has invited the industry player, the venture capital side, whether it's local and foreign, to do some matching and then invest in the startup. So the third initiative is actually during the pandemic time, the Malaysian government is actually giving free credit, free money via e-wallet, so that to increase the adoptions of e-payment. So basically, I think Malaysia by large is very much ready for the next internet economy, digital economy. Okay, so that's the end of my presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. Okay. So thanks for Mr. Lee's sharing. After hearing two insightful presentations from Mr. Siva and Mr. Lee, I want to open the floor and invite representatives from SushiVid and SkinRun to join us. We're going to talk about the future. Where is Malaysia's digital economy heading? So first, I'd like to invite Ms. Fong and Mr. Tang to introduce themselves and their company. So why don't we start from Ms. Fong?
Hi guys, my name is Wen, and I'm the founder and CEO of SushiVid. So now we are called the SV Group. So we are a company that specializes in influencers, social media influencers for all sorts of marketing campaigns. So whether you are a company that's doing cost per post or cost per sale or cost per share type of influencer marketing, we're the company to look for. We started off in 2015 as a simple marketplace, but as with all businesses, we've kind of like grown quite a fair bit. And today we are an entire full suite from an agency all the way to a gig economy marketplace.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Fong. Now it's Mr. Tang's turn.
I have a very short presentation slide. Maybe I can share together.
Okay, sure, go ahead.
Yeah. My name is Sheldon. You can call me Sheldon. Okay, and you can see that actually SkinRun is a company that headquarters is based in Shanghai, founded in 2012, and actually only this year we come to the Malaysian market now. So what is SkinRun doing is actually we are providing beauty solutions for online and online beauty retailers. Yeah. And the main objective is we are going to using the SkinRun AI solutions to make sure that our customers and all the beauty retailers can increase their average spendings, increase the basket size, and they have a better data for better business decision. So this is some of our client profile. Sorry. Okay. And actually, I want to do a very short demo video on our customers, like example like Hermos or Vaselines, to let you all have a better understanding on what SkinRun can do. Yeah, because I know that we have only very short 3 minutes, so I will give a 2-minute demo video on this part. Linda, can you see my video?
No, I can't see your video right now.
Okay.
You can try to share again.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I think now it's booked.
Oh.
Okay. So this is one of our customers. There is the largest beauty e-commerce in Malaysia that using our solutions now. What you can do is actually online skin analysis. You can see, you can just put your face on your cameras, on the apps. Just taking the photo, and after a few seconds, he can analyze about your skin. Yeah, you can see all the result, your skin type, and everything about your face. And I think the key thing is this increase the engagement between the customers and the online shops. Actually, e-commerce is so boring. They have a very big competitions. You can see all kind of functions here. And the most important thing I think is the product recommendations. They really increase all the sales conversions and the sales bucket size. Yeah. So this is something that already we have proved in the Southeast Asia market. Because actually we have a lot of real case study in China, but after we come into Southeast Asia, we found Southeast Asia have a better market on this part. Yeah, and one more is actually the last one is the something that interesting is also from the China Tmall website. You can see Vaseline use this to scan their skin, not only face. They can just take a picture on the skin, and then you can start analysis on your skin and give the product recommendations. And this is something that why we share this demo is because the topic is about the digitalizations. Because previously we are focusing providing beauty solution for retail store, and after this COVID-19 happened, we found out that the Vaseline, the digitalization solution help a lot. Yeah. Thanks, Linda.
Thanks for Mr. Tang's vivid introduction. So let's get to the questions, shall we? So the first question is actually for Mr. Tang. We're very interested in the experiences of Chinese companies located in Malaysia. We know that SkinRun is a Chinese leading beauty AI hardware developer and accomplished seed funding and also Series A round of funding from Kairous Capital. So how did SkinRun establish contact and cooperation with a local VC like Kairous Capital? And what policy support is provided by Malaysia government? Do you have any experiences to share about doing business in Malaysia? How's it like?
Yeah, sure. Actually, how we met with Kairous is actually because Kairous actually has been actively investing in China since 2016. So they are not only providing funding, but also a lot of resources and know how to expand into the Southeast Asia market. So we meet them is because when they looking for potential company, and that's how we meet it. So, and when you're saying why we choose the Malaysia market, is there's a few reasons. I think the biggest reason is definitely the talent pools and the talent cost. Especially when we compare with all other Southeast Asia countries. Firstly, Malaysia, you have a talent pools with at least know 3 languages. Yeah, and definitely the living cost and the employment cost for us, we think that is better because you can get the same quality of talents, but you can get the cheaper price compared to Singapore. Yeah, so this is the key reason. And I think the second thing is also the market in Malaysia is quite mature. No matter is in retails or in digitalizations, it's a ready market and it's a good pilot test for us to land in Southeast Asia.
Okay.
And the last one, I think, is because also Kairous is investor in Malaysia that can bring us a lot of resources. Yeah. And this is also one of the reasons. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And the next question is open for all panelists. Like we said before, the pandemic has brought huge change to the economy. So how will the pandemic change people's way of living and working, and how does it further facilitate the digitalization of Malaysia's economy? So why don't we start from Mr. Siva? What do you think about the impact of the pandemic on people's living and working?
Of course, if we look pre-COVID, a lot of companies, they were looking into digital, okay, but then the pace was not there. They were just, planning to go digital in a couple of years, not immediately. But then when the COVID situation happened, everything was locked down. The only way to get out there and sell or promote your solution is through online. And digital become a big necessity for companies, not only in Malaysia, but around the world. So in Malaysia, what we realize is this. Luckily, we have started promoting the cloud adoption 2 years back. And we have also identified that if we have identified all the key industries in Malaysia, and we have identified that if we manage to digitalize those industries, we are able to increase another $100 billion USD to our GDP. So the need was also there. Just that the COVID expedited our plan. So what we did immediately is to come out with grants or to create demand among the large companies in Malaysia. How can we give them up to 500,000 ringgit, matching grant for them to look into digital economy to further increase productivity and all those. Even for the SMEs, that there is a smart automation grant up to 200,000 ringgit. And then for micro SMEs, okay, we have allocated 5,000 ringgit matching grant so that they can go into digital, getting all kind of digital solutions. So what the government has done is basically look into digitalization, but we also know with the COVID, we need to, increase the demand. So we came out with these grants and incentives for the company. At the other side, there's a lot of demand and less supply. That's why we came out with the platform Digital versus COVID, where we started, posting all digital companies, whether local or foreign, into this platform at our website, so that SMEs or companies could look into those solutions.
Yeah, thank you. So what about Mr. Lee? What do you think of the impact of the epidemic?
Yeah, like what Mr. Siva said, I think COVID is very much like a booster for digitalizations. So what we see within our portfolio is, for example, I think it is actually benefiting all across our portfolio. For example, in terms of the digital healthcare space in China, what happened is, I think pre-COVID, we were trying to penetrate hospitals for using the online consultations between the doctors and the patient. I think the hospitals is actually interested. They know this is a long-term trend, but there's no urgency for them to do that. But when the COVID hit, right? So, all the other patients that is not COVID related will not be able to actually go to the hospitals. So how is the, and actually hospitals suffer because the doctors cannot see the patients. And so therefore a lot of things, all the consultations cannot be done. So what happened is we actually see suddenly there's a spike, in terms of all the solutions that we are providing to the hospitals, to the pharmaceutical companies, and also to the pharmacies. So that's one area. I think the second area is, the fintech space, because we all encourage cashless and all those things. And the way you see China is recovering faster is because all this infrastructure is already there. And like I mentioned just now, the COVID cases also actually expedite the adoptions, the digital adoptions. And I think another area is actually e-commerce. One of our portfolio that is actually in the e-commerce space, they are the e-commerce enabler. They were earlier affected by the mass lockdown because when it's locked down, a lot of things cannot be operated. But once it is people are slowly used to it already, then actually the online transactions, online purchase, apart from the usual group, which is the younger group, now the mid-age and the slightly older range is also adopting this kind of habit. So we actually see that, though unfortunately, but the COVID is actually like a key booster to the digitalizations regionally, in fact, yeah.
Yes, I agree. So what about Ms. Feng? I remember in the interview we asked you about how did you establish trust with customers under these circumstances. So what do you think?
Okay, so I will definitely address this as one of the Malaysian startups. I think the epidemic has really, brought all of us together as a community. I think the startup community is extremely supportive, and it's very important that we stay together. And this particular epidemic has really showed me that I'm in the right community, right? For starts, I think a lot of businesses, a lot of startups were able to pivot very fast. So for example, StoreHub, they came up with a food delivery. So they are a online POS system. And then they became online POS plus they also do F&B delivery menu online, which I thought was really, really good. So other startups such as Service Hero, they started doing sanitization for offices. And then a lot of other people started providing help to the frontliners, and things like that were the turnaround time amongst the startups was super fast. Like even for us as a marketing solution, the moment the epidemic hit, we started to gather all our influencers to build little clusters and groups, so that we tell them like, hey, okay, tell everybody about this information, tell people about this information, and they were very helpful to spread the accurate information, because there was just too much noise going around on Facebook. So I think the community at which we are in, you know, we really grew together, and I think we grew a lot closer during the epidemic. And I thought that was one of the most beautiful things that came out of this, the silver lining. The second thing is, of course, the ability of the startups to pivot. I think we as a community is able to pivot super fast. Like so many of us, you know, like for example, for instance, my own business, like we knew live streaming and live selling is going to be a thing. Like, so I was in Hangzhou in Alibaba program last year, and we knew like, okay, live streaming and this whole live selling, social commerce, this thing is gonna, you know, be something at some point. But because of the epidemic, we had no choice but to like, okay, let's launch now. Like we don't even know what we're doing, but we just launched now. So a lot of other startups are like us. I think Malaysians, we just have that grit, you know. We just have that energy and that grit to just do first, die later. Like just do first, you know, see what happens after that. So a lot of us just launch into new businesses or launch into new things. Just do it first. And I think that is the biggest thing that I saw. And of course, there were a lot of the gig economies are so supported by the government. You know, whether it is SOCSO, Perkeso, EPF, or any of our government bodies from Matrade, MDEC, Cradle, MOF, everybody was just super supportive of the gig economy. And all the marketplaces. So like all the food deliveries are actually essential services. All the delivery of sorts, every last mile delivery is an essential service. Everybody that is supporting the online business is now classified an essential service. So it's, I mean, the turnaround time from the government as well is super fast. I mean, I don't know about other countries, but I'm just so glad that, you know, I am placed in Malaysia because we are such a resilient team. Yeah, so that is the change that I saw from the epidemic.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Wong. So what do you think, Mr. Tan? How do you feel?
Yeah, how I feel, maybe because previously SkinRun is a company that providing skin analysis machine for those retail store. And actually when COVID-19 happened, it happened in China first. So immediately we can feel what we feel is in China, suddenly every business stopped. And what we really feel that, but this stop really is a booster, just like what Mr. Siwa and Mr. Joseph mentioned about that. It's really a booster for the business, for us to go for digitalizations. As we never thought that online skin analysis solution, it can be worked. And he's really attract a lot of big brands, even like Vaseline, Hermo, this kind of customer work with us. I mean, for me personally, I think that this gives us a better chance of business to do it online. Since everyone know online is a trend, but no one go and execute it. Until now, everyone forced to do it. And it also save a lot of time and cost is because of last time when we want to meet the customers, we want to go and meet with our clients, we need to make appointment, traffic jam, parking, everything. We spend 2-3 hours to travel to our customer and have a meeting. Now, and you can see every one of us sitting in our home using Zoom to have a webinar. Yeah, so I think this is really efficient, and I think this is great. Yeah, this is my point of view. Yeah.
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you. So for the next question, I want to take a longer view and think about the future. So launched by the Malaysian government in 1996 as the Multimedia Super Corridor Program. And Malaysia today has deployments and promising prospects in digital banking, e-payments, e-commerce, online car hailing services, and digital infrastructure development. So how do you see the future of the Malaysia's digital economy? So let's also start from Mr. Siva, shall we?
Yep. So of course, digital economy is the future. Earlier, our target for in MDEC was 20% of the GDP should come from digital economy by 2020. And I think we have exceeded that, and things are going to accelerate faster. At the moment, of course, some of the key boosters of digital economy in Malaysia is, of course, e-commerce, both because of the lockdown and also because there's a lot of facilitation from the government for companies, SMEs, micro SMEs to go online. And second thing, cloud is also one of the biggest thing that is happening now in Malaysia. A lot of data centers are coming up, and the infrastructure is improving more and more, submarine cables to global locations. Lastly, fintech adoption. Everybody is moving online or digitally in terms of fintech. That's the big thing. So in terms of country, what will be our strategy? Of course, we are working on the new policies and also providing government in terms of feedbacks and stuff. A couple of things that we are looking at is, number one, how can we continuously increase the demand, digital demand out there? Okay, especially how can we still go out there and facilitate all these micro SMEs to get their products online? So the government is not only subsidizing some parts of the logistic costs for them and all those, when they do online transaction or even the payment gateway and stuff, but how can we do more to get more micro SMEs and SMEs on board towards e-commerce platform? Number two, we're also looking into how can we increase the productivity of SMEs? How can they have IoT or automation and stuff into their plants or factories and all those, and automate most of the stuff. Okay, that's also a priority, and how government can play a role to provide some form of incentive. That could be a tax rebate or grants for them to adopt digital. And thirdly, of course, the large companies of Malaysia, whether the glove manufacturers and all those stuff, how can we get them to supply more gloves to the global with the current workforce, or by improving productivity and stuff. That's number one. Number two, so number one is increasing demand. Number two, we are looking into talent development. How can we produce more digital talent or the right digital talent so that they are industry ready? Okay, cybersecurity is going to be a very important thing when everyone moves digital. Then we have all the other technologies like fintech, cloud, IoT and stuff. How can we, what do you call that? At the government side, of course, we are asking the government to allocate more and more funds to get Malaysians upskill to the latest digital technology requirements out there. But the other side, we are also working with the universities and all. And of course, as I shared earlier, how can we further liberalize so that companies can get the right foreign talent for them to help with their digital growth in Malaysia. And third thing, of course, the infrastructure and ecosystem. Infrastructure, how can we bring broadband further to the rural locations of Malaysia? How can we bring 5G? 5G might just change the way we are doing our digital adoption at the moment. Everything might change, but we would want to go towards that journey. How can we accelerate the 5G adoption in Malaysia? How can we bring broadband to rural community? And then how can we bring the entire ecosystems and all the stuff? And lastly, policies. That's where the sandbox and all those are very important. How can we look into those obsolete policies, like example, drone. It's still, there's no proper drone policies at the moment. The government is looking into that. More health tech and fintech policies, which is, meets the current requirements and current world.
Yeah,
okay.
Thank you, sir. So what about Mr. Lee?
Oh yeah, I think as a whole, yeah, the digital economy for Malaysia is going to be great in the next 5-10 years because Malaysia is part of ASEAN, and for businesses that wanted to come to ASEAN, we always encourage them to land in Malaysia and using Malaysia as the gateway to ASEAN. And obviously, I think when we talk to a lot of Chinese tech companies, they are used to look at big numbers, right? Therefore, most of them will not ultimately be interested in just one single country in ASEAN. They will actually look at the region as a whole. And so apart from, I think, what has shared so far in terms of infrastructures, Malaysia infrastructures, in terms of the a very supportive government, like people like MDEC, as in, and building up the ecosystem for the digital economy here. I think on top of all those things, what we see the benefit of Malaysia is having the multilingual talent and multicultural. So therefore, being able to maneuver in different countries in ASEAN. So and it is a sizable populations, not big, not as big as Indonesia or or Vietnam, but it's still a sizable 30+ million to serve as a test bed. So what we actually see, like for example, all the internet giants, say for example, Ding Ding in China, which is outside China, is called DingTalk. Their first country that they landed outside China is actually Malaysia. And for example, I think Tencent Pay, WeChat Pay, the first country that they actually landed is actually also Malaysia, that accepting the link up with the local bank. So I think Malaysia is actually ready to be the test bed of ASEAN, and building the team here, and then eventually you can actually deploy them to a different part of ASEAN. And one thing is also during our observations where we invest through the region, the skill workers in Malaysia is actually relatively cheap. So if you compare, like and a CFO that can speak both good Mandarin and English in China is probably 3 times the cost in Kuala Lumpur. And sometimes if you can compare Kuala Lumpur with Bangkok, that can speak bilingual, I think Malaysians still have advantages in terms of as a whole in terms of the cost. So we see with that kind of ecosystem, with that kind of advantages, there will more and more tech companies coming over here, and plus with the existing infrastructures, we think that's going to be great. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. That's great. So what about Ms. Fong?
Okay, so guys, I think that from the startup perspective, we have the right community to grow, right? I think we as a nation, the startups that are here, we are very supportive of each other. A lot of us who graduate from the Cradle program or the Magic Accelerator program, we end up becoming groups of friends that are very, very supportive of each other. Also, some of us who came back from the Alibaba e-founder program, right? We have the right kind of support that can, help us to grow fast enough. And there's also a lot of us who study abroad that come back with and bring with us the technology that we see from abroad as well. So I think the Malaysian entrepreneurs is a really, really good group. I myself studied in the US. I came back. I went to Singapore to work for a couple of years in a few different startups, and decided to come back to Malaysia to start up my own startup, right? So I think these are things that a lot of other entrepreneurs are like me, where we are here today. In terms of the future for Malaysian digital economy, I think Malaysia, we really can be the best. We really should be the best. I mean, a lot of our talents are being drained out of our country because like you guys say, we are the affordable, but I really hope that we can up our own people's talent price as well. Why are we losing all our manpower to Singapore? The diaspora rate in Malaysia is 1 in every 5. So I hope sincerely, although yes, we are an affordable bunch, I hope that we don't become so affordable. I hope that our own people can retain and stay, our good talents can retain and stay in our own country, right? So I believe that we are already very amazing, our government in all different sectors, right? Just so you know, I'm pure beneficiary of my government. So I received a Cradle grant for my company, a seed grant up to 500,000 ringgit. I actually went to the Philippines, Thailand, Indonesia with MDEC through the Expand program. With MaTrade, I actually exhibited my company around the world. right? So we have exhibition marketing dollars, we have grants, we have networking through the government. These are things that our government is doing to support the startups, right? And of course, on top of that, our community of startups are actually very, very close knit and very strong. And very welcoming also. Okay, so if you guys want, welcome, please come, right? And finally, I think our government is just amazing. We have this foresight to build the digital economy even before a lot of other countries have started doing this. We already have MSC status. We already have our Cyber Jaya, which is a place that's built for a tax-free zone and stuff. We already have all these things, right? Way before everybody else has, right? Which is why we attracted Alibaba to build the DFDZ in Malaysia. Which is why Joseph said, Ting decide to come to Malaysia, WeChat Pay come to Malaysia, Shell come to Malaysia. Why? Because our government has this foresight to actually digitalize Malaysia way before everybody else. Right, so I'm very, very thankful, sincerely. I'm not buttering anything. I'm very, very sincere about this. Right, I'm very, very grateful for where we are, and I believe we really can, especially if we can find a way to pull our talent home, we really can become, the best digital economy in Southeast Asia, or Asia for that matter. Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Bong. So what do you think, Mr. Tang, for the future of Malaysia's digital?
Mr. Silva, Joseph, and also Ms. Fong already share from the economic side, government side. Okay, I think that what I want to share is since we are talking about future of the digital economics, I think it's very positive. The reason being is if you take a look on those youngster or teenagers, I mean below 30 years old, in the next 5 to 10 years, I think they are the main buying powers. They are the main buying power that willing to spend, especially online, because since young, they already engage with those phones, online payments, yeah, and they educate by great pay since they start use their phone. So that is why I think it's a very big potential because of this. In the end, all the consumers, they can easily use digital payment, digital marketing. They can accept everything in digital. Even they can buy a fish on Facebook. They can, I mean, this is a thing that only our parents won't buy a fish from Facebook. They will only buy from the market. Yeah. And if you can see this thing also happen, it means that the future is really potentials. Yeah. That's my opinion. Yeah. Thanks.
Yes, thank you. So thank you all for the sharing and answers. So after hearing all these presentations and roundtable discussion, so our audiences must have some questions for our speakers. So here comes Q&A session. I see that there are already some questions raised. And okay, one question is for Mr. Lee. Out of so many companies in China, why you choose SkinRun to invest in, and why you think they can come to overseas?
Okay.
This question.
Yeah, so we have essentially looked at quite a fair bit of Chinese company. I think first of all, their technology actually impressed us. They actually help. Skincare is a big market, and they actually help improve the conversions, the conversions of the consumers, right? For example, I think traditionally, if you go to the skincare shops and you want the promoter to actually recommend some to you, then they will, based on their own judgment, to recommend certain product to you, or they will probably based on whichever product that give them the best margin to actually recommend it to you. But it isn't scientific, right? So, but here we look at something that is very scientific. So if you scan the machine 10 times, the result is going to be the same at this moment, right? So it actually clearly telling you with the analysis, with the big data, actually telling you the issue, whether there's issues, right? And then what are the products that can solve your issue. So we are very much impressed with the technologies. that can actually help to better understand your skin and also find the right product for you. So, and I think that's the beginning. And the next part is for us is very much like what kind of customer that they are serving. So when we look at SkinRun, they're already serving people like L'Oreal in China, Watson, Unilever, and all those names are actually very familiar to us outside China. So therefore, for us to, apart from their own home turf, for us to actually bring them up, it become so much easier because they know what the customers want, and this part of the customers is similar, right? So and therefore it is actually easier to bring them cross border. So that's actually the second part, and obviously landed up in Malaysia is just a step one. Like we say that we always want to use Malaysia as a gateway to ASEAN, right? So and all these brands are also a common brand in this part of the world. So I think that's why that we think that these kind of combinations, we will be able to add actually huge value to the company. That's how we ended up invested in SkinRun, and not just SkinRun, and the other similar type of company that we invested in China all have this kind of similar type of criteria. Yeah.
Thank you, sir, for the answers. I see a lot of other questions, and the panelists already answered them. So there's one more question for Mr. Siva. Chris said she's interested in the digital versus COVID movement launched by MDEC. How did MDEC come up with this campaign, and how did you unite all these firms together?
Okay, what do you call that? First of all, this digital versus COVID, it was not planned. The lockdown happened, if I'm not mistaken, 18th of March. And we realized that, hey, there's only one way for companies to basically sell their solution. And there's only one way for the people out there to, what do you call that? Adopt their solutions. You know, there should be a digital platform where both the demand side and also the supply side should be able to meet. And it should be a platform where some form of, how to say, a trusted party should be running it. And we thought about it, and we came out with the digital versus COVID platform. Okay, it was launched on 25th of March, if I'm not mistaken. And we started, first of all, we started getting all our 2,000 plus MSC local technology companies, whether are they interested to share about their products and solutions. Then we went towards all the other companies, whether local or foreign, who are based out of Malaysia, who would want to be part of it. And then with the promotions and all the stuff, then people, both SMEs, the individuals who are looking for. So there's various types of solutions. There is online solutions for people who wants to upskill themselves during those COVID period. There is a lot of free technology solutions offered by all these technology companies to SMEs to try out their products. And also there was a lot of other products targeting the consumer market. So it's basically, the good thing is that we managed to get all the demand and the supply side to this one particular platform. And that is makes things easier for everyone.
Yeah, thank you, sir. So due to the time limitation, if you have more questions for our panelists today, please contact them through our WhatsApp group or LinkedIn or email. So I'm gonna wrap it up now. So, okay, thank you all for your amazing sharings. The above is all the content of this online meeting. We're especially grateful to Mr. Siva, Mr. Lee, Ms. Fong, and Mr. Tan, and also of our speakers for the insightful and profound thoughts. Thank you for overcoming the time and geographical differences to participate in our event. After the meeting, we will sort out the content you shared and discussed and share it with other HoloBase users who did not participate in this activity and with our Chinese users through our parent company, Geekpark, which is a leading tech media in China. At last, I'd like to borrow 1 or 2 minutes from our users. Can you help us fill in the questionnaire about this event? You can click the link in the chat room and we will send it to our WhatsApp group also. Thank you so much. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to contact us. Thank you so much for your attention and time. Thank you.